Today, secretaries of state from all over the country are meeting in Washington, D.C. They were there yesterday, too, when the FBI executed a search warrant at a Fulton County, Georgia election hub in connection to President Trump's 2020 election fraud claims. The state had already been locked in a battle with DOJ after it demanded access to unredacted voter rolls that include private information from addresses to driver's licenses to Social Security numbers. My next guest represents a state sued by DOJ for voter data, Nevada Secretary of State Cisco Aguilar. It's good to see you, Mr. Secretary. I want to start with what's happening in Georgia. What do you think of the FBI conducting this kind of search?
Unfortunately, it's just an overall plan by the administration to intimidate elections officials. They're on a goal to force us into compliance with what they believe is the law. Unfortunately, they don't understand the fact that the Constitution is clear that elections are the responsibility of the states.
The DOJ wants your state's unredacted voter rolls. Are you intimidated?
Not at all. We are fighting back as strong as we can. Not only did we receive a lawsuit, we received multiple requests from different agencies throughout the administration requesting that information. Most recently, we received a motion to compel to require me to hand over that information before we fully litigate the issue. Again, the cases in Oregon and California were very clear that elections are the responsibility of the states. When Nevadans registered to vote in Nevada, they consented to having the state manage that information. Nevada suffered a recent cyber attack. We understand data privacy more than any other state because of that situation. And it's my job to ensure that we are protecting the voters in Nevada. Voters in Nevada didn't consent to having a third party have that information.
Let me ask you about how you're doing that, because the Nevada AG yesterday did ask the court to dismiss the federal government's case against you for refusing to release the data. But what else are you doing? Are there any changes internally in your elections office that you think will help protect the data for Nevada voters? What do you say to them?
Absolutely. In 24, we implemented a new election system statewide to ensure that the security of our system was strong. Nevada runs some of the most safest, secure, and accessible elections in the country. That new system allows me to do the voter maintenance on our voter rolls that we need to do. It brings transparency to the process so that voters truly can understand how elections work and why they are safe and secure.
I'm curious about now the conversations you've been having. The timing is really interesting of what happened yesterday. What kinds of conversations with your fellow secretaries of state about the pressure that is coming from the Trump administration?
Look, it's the president's effort to intimidate us into compliance. Again, we understand that he has this weird obsession of litigating the 2020 election. That issue has been litigated not only in the courts, but in the court of public opinion. We know that in 22, every secretary that ran against an election denier won their race. I think that's the voters speaking about the 2020 election. We are very focused on ensuring that the 26 election is run strong, it's run well, and this is just a distraction to that effort. Again, it's their effort to usurp state law, but to intimidate us to ensure that they can swing the election the direction they want to swing it, which is not going to happen. The conversation among secretaries is about us remaining strong, remaining vigilant, but remaining focused on what our responsibilities are and what we need to do to ensure that voters have a voice in 26 and that every ballot cast is counted.
Nevada Secretary of State Cisco Aguilar, thank you.